The guys that go to work and do the minimum amount of work and try to get done. And then there's the guys that go in and give all they can. And when they go home at the end of the night, they think of what could I have done more?
Right.
And so the two aspects of that, I think, is one's a champion, regardless of what they do. And the other one's just the average. The average.
Well, now we jump forward, and we just had you on stage here a month or two ago, and you looked incredible. You looked awesome.
Yeah, I was pretty blown away. I mean, I don't want to say I was going into it with like minor expectations, but I was super happy with how I looked, and I was on stage with a bunch of guys, like the guys surrounding me were like, "Oh, I have a kid your age."
Yeah, right.
It was a killer experience, and it just set the bar for myself yet higher for in the future, and it just made me want to work even harder. So yeah, it was a killer experience, and again, going into it, I was just training to be the best version of myself. Everyone's always talking about that.
Right.
And due to a lot of diligence going into COVID and frankly, a lot of hard training and work, I just kind of happened to be ready to jump on stage.
And that was the thing. I mean, we just kind of, because we were talking about it and you were so sliced already. I'm like, you're just going to get on stage. We're going to just finish this thing out. And we've talked in the past about our high days.
Yeah.
And our celebration. And you've had more high days or cheat days, whatever you guys want to call it, refeed days, whatever the new terms are for you kids. But you've had more of those in the last year and a half than you ever did before that. When you were trying to, and you've made more gains doing it this way than you've ever done.
Which, may not work for everyone, because I know I talk to people and they're like, what the heck? And I'm like, dude, you don't understand. Like, my body fat percentage was like non-existent or whatever. But, again, I think you have such a wealth of knowledge on what works for people. I remember I was on the phone with Darren and Pac, and you.
Bubble, come on in and sit down next to him.
You are so shy.
We were,
come here, buddy.
We were all chatting like 2 weeks before the show.
Come.
And I had just gotten done eating all my high day food. And you're like, "Are you still hungry?" And I'm like, "Dude, it's so crazy. I ate like 6 pounds of meat and like 600 grams of carbs. I mean, it was disgusting on how much food I ate." And you're like, "Are you still hungry?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And you're like,
twist that a little bit.
You're like, "Go grab a pizza." And I'm like, "What?" And these guys are like eating fish and hating their lives. And I'm 2 weeks before a show and eating a whole pizza. So, yeah, I mean, that was another thing that I kind of, you put in the work, and it's really fun to see what the body actually finally needs, but you got to get there first. Because prior to that, I probably didn't have the best.
You say, I got to stop here, because you say you got to get there first. You're not there yet.
No. But
so what is your terminology of get there first?
Well,
you see what I'm saying though?
Yeah.
Because we're not even finished with you.
Oh,
we're like 20% into what we're gonna do with you.
Right.
And so you're actually living it. And they talk about that. Don't wait for the end. No. Live that process, and you're actually living this stuff.
Well, and when you hit these little milestones, you do a show. Like anybody who's done a show will tell you, "Oh, the show was great. It was fun. But now I have my laundry list of stuff that I would love to do different." It's no different than like playing soccer or football or whatever.
I think everything's different than playing soccer.
Yeah.
Can we agree, being Americans, that everything's different? Okay, that was a terrible metaphor from him.
Yeah, I'm not a sports guy, so the sports analogies don't work too well for me. But either way, it's like, you train for whatever that is that you're passionate about, and you want to perform on a high level. And then not in a bad way, but then you get there, and then you just have that, "Look, I want to do all these things different," or "I know I can do this better." I know that when I got done with the show, I was like, again, I don't think it's a bad thing, but you start thinking back to all those days.
What could you have done different?
Yeah. And I'm like, I could have gone a little harder here. Or there was that one day where I had zero energy and I should have pushed a little harder. And I don't think those things are bad. It's just we want to challenge ourselves, and we always want to do better.
What do they say? They say there's two types of people: the guys that go to work and do the minimum amount of work and try to get done. Then there's the guys that go in and give all they can, and when they go home at the end of the night, they think of what could I have done more.
Right.
And so the two aspects of that, I think, is one's a champion, regardless of what they do. And the other one's just the average. I'm just going through the time. I just want to go home, watch TV, and I'm done with the night, and I'll start the day tomorrow. Where you're a lot like me, and Bobo right next to you is a lot like us. That we're 6 days, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And I know that you have a little bit of time on Sundays with the family and stuff. But we're continuous workers, and I want them to understand that everything that you did and are doing, they can do if they followed your work ethic, regardless if it's flying everywhere, you stayed on your diet and your training, regardless of getting ready for a show or doing all these things and having your high days, you still did the protocol that I set you up on. And I wish that would just translate more to these people out there going, well, this guy's a competitor. No, he's not. He competed, but no, your job is fashion.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
They're going to look at you and go, oh no, this guy's a health and fitness guy. No, he's not.
Yeah.
He's a fashion. It's like Bryce that I train. Bryce has nothing to do with the world of health and fitness.
Right.
He's an entertainment in the agent with music.
Sure.
So it's interesting because I don't like. It's fun to train people for shows. That's nice and stuff. But I love getting people that, like you guys, that work and have these jobs, that travel and do everything and still get on stage and go, oh, as a hobby, I jumped on stage in my little posing trunks and with kids
cool.
half my age and look just as good as them.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's funny you should say that, because even in work, I've worked for some massive companies, and every job you have has its like challenges and sort of easier things, but I've always had a lot more passion towards like the emerging projects. So I love working on new brands. There's no business. You have to build this from nothing to something. It's just been more motivating for me, and versus working on the big projects where they're just kind of on cruise control. And
You like the develop part.
yeah, it's fun. It's fun to kind of create something, and there's a lot of synergies between sort of like what I like from a professional standpoint and sort of what I love from the whole health and fitness thing. But a big part of it for me is I have a few mentor type business figures, and I work better for certain people when I know that I want to go to them and make them proud. I want them to know that I did give it 110%, and not discredit anyone, but I do on occasion kind of like, man, I can't believe so and so or whoever is going to get on a Skype call with Mike when they've fallen off the wagon for 2 weeks. Like, that is just not. I don't want to face that. If you tell me to do something, we all know that I don't always do everything entirely right, but the effort is there, and especially when it comes to the dietary portion, when it needs to be 110%, I give it 110%.